All right, welcome back to this channel. So Tyson Fury, this video is going to be about Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder and the fact that Tyson Fury finally admits that he was forced into this trilogy fight because if he hadn't, he might be sued for as much as 80 million pounds by Deontay Wilder, something that we've been telling you on this channel for a while, but let's go over that again in some detail in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So there are a lot of people that are talking about Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder and specifically wondering whether Tyson Fury is going to actually make it to this trilogy fight and have it with Deontay Wilder. Well, there was an interview that took place yesterday or the day before yesterday with Tyson Fury. And I think it answers the question, and it's something that I've been saying for a while, pretty much during the entire lead up of this thing, which is that Tyson Fury does not have a choice but to fight Deontay Wilder. And if he doesn't fight Deontay Wilder, then he has some very, very serious ramifications or financial ramifications that he's looking at. And that's why I believe, inevitably that he's going to come and have this fight. Before I get into that, though, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the channel, share the video, or like the video, share the video. It would be greatly appreciated. But look, man, $80 million or 80 million pounds. I'll say 80 million pounds, but because 80 million pounds is more than $80 million when you look at the exchange rate. It might be somewhere around 90 something million dollars. That's how much Tyson Fury said that he would be facing in a lawsuit if he did not fight Deontay Wilder. He then turns around and also says, that admits that, if it was him, he would have wanted the trilogy fight, right? And and he would be upset and doing the same thing if Deontay Wilder had tried to pull out. So, I find it really, really interesting as we get closer to the fight that the honesty is actually, that Tyson Fury is put into a position, where he's acting like he really did not try, like he could understand where Deontay Wilder is coming from. But look, Tyson Fury is somebody that is absolutely, man, a stone cold a liar. He tried to get out of this fight. And I think the reason that he tried to get out of this fight is primarily related to the fact that he got caught cheating in the first and the second fight by Deontay Wilder's, fan base after the fact. And he was just flat out looking to get out of it. He didn't care at the time about, being sued, and he tried to get out on a technicality. Personally, it was an open and shut case for me from the beginning, man, because I'm like, look, the guy has a rematch clause that is forcing him to fight. If he doesn't fight Deontay Wilder, Deontay Wilder is going to suffer irreparable harm to his career. And that was pretty much the same situation as, when Lennox Lewis was fighting Hasim Rahman. When Lennox Lewis fought Hasim Rahman and Hasim Rahman knocked him out, Hasim Rahman tried to not rematch Lennox Lewis, even though Lennox Lewis had a rematch clause, but the judge said that you couldn't do it because of and he looked at several factors. He looked at first the fact that there was a rematch clause there between that Hasim Rahman agreed to, but then he looked and said, look, well, what happens if Hasim Rahman is allowed to go fight somebody else? What will that do to Lennox Lewis's career? And so they looked at it and said, look, Lennox Lewis is in his later years. He doesn't have that many more fights left. The heavyweight championship is a very coveted title, and with it, comes, a lot of money in the paydays. So they looked at, how much money it would cost Lennox Lewis if he didn't get that belt back, and the likelihood that if, Hasim Rahman didn't fight him, or if Hasim Rahman lost, that he'd never get another championship again, another shot at that belt again. And they said that would be irreparable harm to Lennox Lewis's career. The amazing thing is that in a circumstance that was that straightforward, right? Just that straightforward and very, very similar to Deontay Wilder, that the boxing media the entire time Tyson Fury was acting like the contract was expired and he didn't have to fight, just completely ignored those facts and started talking about, Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury and selling the Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight, right in the face of these facts. So, now for, after everything is settled, and I find personal, I enjoy this very much that this is happening, because this is something that I was telling people the entire time, man, that Tyson Fury can't just say that the contract is expired and then just walk away from it, especially when the reason, and Tyson Fury's admitting this, the reason that the fight, was canceled wasn't Deontay Wilder. It was canceled because actually it wasn't. Tyson Fury said it was canceled because of COVID, but really was canceled because or postponed because ESPN didn't want to air the fight until February because of COVID. So, and that was something that Tyson Fury's camp had informed Deontay Wilder. So Tyson Fury was claiming that that's the reason the fight was canceled. Is absolutely ridiculous. That's not the reason the fight would, that the contract expired is what he was saying. The contract didn't expire. The contract, was still in effect because it was Tyson Fury's team and Tyson Fury's partners that postponed it. And once they postponed it, then they pretty much let the contract continue. At least that's the way that I saw it. And when they went into arbitration, that's what they found. And so they found for Deontay Wilder, and then Tyson Fury was then stuck fighting. But even then, after that, Tyson Fury tries to pull out of the fight again over this COVID stuff, but he hasn't, I wouldn't say to his credit, because I don't want to credit him with anything. But at least as far as the facts go, he didn't absolutely, cancel the fight totally. The date was moved to October 9th, but there's a lot of people that are wondering whether or not, and I constantly get this, like, is Tyson Fury going to pull out again? Is he going to pull out of the fight again? And my answer is no, I don't think he's going to pull out of the fight again, because there are some very serious ramifications for him if he doesn't. Now, Deontay Wilder was the first one to mention that, look, he was going to sue him and he's got to give him his belt. He's got to give up the belt if he's not going to fight, if he pulls out of the fight again. Tyson Fury is the one that said, he would have been sued for 80 million pounds or whatever. I'm not sure if I thought that he would be sued for at least $50 million, because Deontay Wilder had the ability in the actual fight that he had to make $40 million. And then if you add on an extra fight or, some other things associated with that, I thought that, he could reasonably seek out $50 million from Tyson Fury if he pulled out. But, Tyson Fury, used the 80 million pound, which is, 90 something million dollars. So we'll go with that. But, the thing that is interesting to me is, just from the outside looking in, is that this was something that was should have been obvious to everybody involved the entire time. Especially the boxing media, who really played in to Tyson Fury saying it and listening, playing into what Tyson Fury had to say, was listening to what Bob Arum had to say, and pretty much running with it like it was, like it was the gospel, and completely ignoring what Deontay Wilder was saying, and completely ignoring what a lot of other people were saying about what was happening with the arbitration and how more than likely that was going to turn out. The same way that they ignored the cheating, that led up into that. And I'm telling you that in that court case, my understanding is that they actually reviewed Deontay Wilder's, accusations of Tyson Fury cheating, and the judge was like, "Look, man, truth is a defense to defamation, so I can't help you there." But all in all, I do think the fight is going to take place, and it was just a big, it's a big wave for Tyson Fury. Definitely tried to get out of it because he doesn't have the ability to cheat again, and we'll see as a result how the next fight turns out. But anyway, that was my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section, and with that, I'm out. Peace.